everybody. Today I'll be talking about my review of the Topflight Cessna 182. And first off, I'll be talking about the bad points, what I think are the bad points of this plane. Next, I'll be talking about what I think are the good points. And next, we'll move on to a video compilation that I've made of, because I wasn't, when I've recorded its flights, I wasn't really planning on doing a YouTube video. So I've recorded bits here and there, and I've made a compilation so you could enjoy this compilation. And next time around, I would be able to do another video of it, an actual full flight video of the plane. So let's jump into it. Let's get into the bad points of what I think about the Topflight Cessna 182 kit. First of all, something that I'd like to point out that I've noticed with this plane is in the kit itself, when you get to the elevator part, there's a part that's called the control arm, and it's in the kit. It calls to install a nylon or plastic control arm, and well, if memory serves me correct, that's what it calls for, and that's what I recall, that's what I remember. And the way it sits it snaps onto the elevator's horn, which is metallic. I might not be saying it correctly. It might not be called a horn, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the only way I could describe it. It threads onto a control rod. Threads onto a rod that extends from the elevator servo and goes through plastic tubing. And instructions call for you to use a nylon one, and it's supposed to snap onto a metallic horn that comes from the elevator. And I don't see it as being right, because with it being nylon or plastic, and where it sits on being where it's supposed to snap onto, the material used is metal. The way I see it, it's gonna rub out. There's too much friction. It's going to rub out and snap, very quickly. So I didn't bother using their plastic parts, and I went with a metallic one. And I think that this is something that I should point out, and I think it's I don't think it's right that it's part. I don't think it being part of the kit is right, and instructions calling for it to be used is also right. So I think that the best thing that you could do is just go for a metallic part. So it's metal rubbing against metal, and not only is the problem that it's plastic or nylon and it's rubbing against metal, it's also hidden. The way it's built inside, it's hidden. So you don't really get to see it, when it's all built, when it's all done, you don't really get to see it. It's hidden away. So how could you know how worn it is? I mean, it could be just about to snap off, and you don't really see it just before the flight. So I went with a metallic part, and I'm going to cut out an access door that could come down and close, so this way I could get access and easily do an inspection whenever I want to, because this is a really crucial part. I mean, the elevator whole control arm coming off, it's something that you don't want. It comes off, and the plane just falls out of the sky. There's nothing you can do at this point. Doesn't matter how good of a pilot you are. There's absolutely nothing that you could do when something like this happens. So you obviously don't want something like this to happen. So this is the first bad point that I've spoken about. And now I'm gonna move on to the second bad point. Well, I wouldn't say bad, but I think it's just an oversight maybe on Topflight's part. Maybe they just didn't really think it through. When I got the plane, and the box clearly states that it's a 60 to 90 class plane. So you could use a two-stroke glow engine, which is either a 60 sized engine up to a 90 sized engine, or you could use a four-stroke engine that's bigger. So they obviously classed it as a 60 sized or somewhere in between plane. And I thought, okay, I'll get it and get a 60 sized engine when I'm done, you know. And as I started progressing with the build, and not only progressing with the build, right out of the box, when I pulled the plans out and had a look at the plane, at the size of the plane, through the plans, when I got home, that's when it hit me, that a 60 size engine might not work for this. But whatever, I just went along with the build and thought, I'd figure out what power plant I'd use when I'm done with the build. So as I started finishing off the build and it came time to select an engine, I determined that it's just a 60 size engine is not going to work with this. It's just too small of an engine, to lift something this big, and it just, to me, it just seemed underpowered. So I went with something just slightly bigger. I went with a 75, which is a 75 sized engine, which is an OS 75AX engine. I thought, well, Topflight says that, you could use something from a 60 sized engine up to a 90 sized engine. So 75 sized engine would be a good middle ground. Let's call it that way. So I was obviously wrong. When I set up the engine, and broke it in and everything, and it was time to do the maiden flight, I could tell right away that, at full power it was rolling on takeoff quite a long distance. And after it took off, it felt underpowered. It felt like the 75AX engine just wasn't doing it justice. It felt like it didn't have enough thrust or torque to really like get it up and going through the air. It just didn't feel like it was there. And so I was really careful with the climb out, so I didn't push the nose too far up. I didn't want to stall it. And there's nothing wrong with the engine. If you're wondering, okay, maybe something's wrong with the engine. No, I've been working with glow plane engines, ever since 2004. So I know when an engine is running right, and I know when it's not running right. This one was running completely right at full throttle. All the power was there. It was just not enough for this size of a plane. And as soon as I was done with the climb out, I gently pushed the nose down and was flying it around, and I could tell that, after I pushed the nose down and I was done with the climb and just was flying it around, then it started to build up speed and started flying more or less better. But this was almost at full throttle. I throttled just a bit back, but you could tell that the power just doesn't match the plane. I don't know what Topflight is a very good brand, and they know what they're doing, but I don't think I don't think that a 60 sized nitro engine or a 75 size nitro engine would do this plane justice. I don't think that it's meant for it. Maybe a 4-stroke bigger engine might do it justice, you know, because they've got a bit more torque. But a 60, 75 is just rubbish. If a 75 engine was rubbish, you know, then a 60 would obviously be even worse. Maybe a 90 sized 2-stroke OS engine or higher. You know, I don't see anything less than a 90 size 2-stroke engine being a suitable power plant for this size of a plane. 90 to 120, that's it. Anything lower, you know, you're not gonna have a fun time. And in case you get into a situation that you don't want to be in, you know, you need that surplus power, you need that extra power to get yourself out of a bad situation. And a 75 is not gonna give you that power, and a 60 will obviously not give it. So I took that engine out and I went with a DLE20 2-stroke engine, and I still haven't flown it yet. I will fly it soon, and I will record the video and I will give you my opinion on what I think of the DLE20 size engine. So far on the ground with a test run, I really like it. You could see the power difference when comparing it with the OS75 AX engine. I mean, on paper they've got the same output, which is around 2.5 HP, you know, but in reality it's a night and day difference. I mean, you could really feel the torque. Even on the ground you could really feel it, you know. It's even though the HP rating on paper is about the same, you know, horsepower tells you only one side of the story. Torque is where it really matters. So those are the bad points of what I think is not so good with this kit. Now we're moving on to the good points of what I think of this kit. It's a very fine scaled plane. I mean, obviously Topflight got it right in this sense. I mean, scale wise, I mean, they really did a good job. I mean, whoever did this, I mean, whoever designed this kit really knew what they were doing. They got everything down, I mean, to the very last bit. I mean, they got it all correct, all really good. And it has very good quality wood in the kit. Instructions are very good. I mean, you're not really gonna be improvising during the build. Everything's on paper and clear and concise wording. And you're not, I mean, if you have simple build skills, you're not really gonna get stuck with the build. It doesn't really require a genius or someone with really high capabilities to build this. This was actually my first time building a kit plane. All my other planes have always been ARFs or foamies. So this was my first kit, and Topflight did a really good job. I mean, not only is the scale quality of this plane excellent, and I've flown actual Cessna airplanes, so I could tell you that they got it right. I haven't flown a 182, I've flown 172s, but I mean, you could tell that they got it right. And as I've said, the quality of the kit itself, all of the wood, all of the laser cut wood, I mean, they really got it right. I mean, good job on them. And another good point that I'd like to talk about is when it's flying up in the air, and I've never experienced this with any other plane, it feels almost like it's on rails. It's that stable in flight. I mean, I've flown trainers, I've flown warbirds, all sorts of planes, and nothing really gave me this type of feel. It's like almost like it does. It's felt so stable. It's almost like it doesn't want to turn. You know, it does turn, but it gives you the feeling that it, you know, doesn't really wanna get out and twitch real quick, which often happens with the planes that are unstable. You know, the you push left aileron or right aileron even just a bit, and it just twitches to the left or right. You know, some planes just don't feel stable, but with this one, you could really feel. I mean, it's rock solid up in the air. I never had this feel, you know, with any other plane. I mean, a trainer is supposed to be the easiest plane out there to fly. You know, it's supposed to be the most stable plane out there to fly, but it's nowhere near as stable as this Topflight Cessna plane. I mean, everything felt, even the way it flew, it felt almost scale-like when it was flying up in the air. Didn't feel twitchy, didn't want to jump around. If you pushed it to the left, it just slowly went to the left. Pushed it to the right, slowly went to the right. Pushed it up slowly, you know, I mean, it just felt so solid and so stable. And I never ever got this feeling from any other plane. I'm not saying that I'm a professional RC pilot. I haven't flown every plane out there. You know, I've never flown a biplane. So maybe a biplane might be as stable or even more stable. So there are many planes that I haven't flown, you know, but I've flown quite a bit, and this plane by far is the most stable that I've ever flown. I mean, you could almost take your hands off the controls and it's gonna fly straight and stable, and you're always gonna know or feel where it's gonna go, which is not always the case with many other planes. With many other planes, they just have a life of their own. They just want to go up, down, left, right, wherever they want to go. So that's my whole review, and now I'm gonna play a compilation video of several takeoffs, landings, just fly arounds with it. And I know this isn't the best quality that I could bring to you, but I haven't really been flying it because of the engine swap over, and I'm also I'm also taking off the monocoque and redoing the job because I didn't really like it, so I haven't really been flying it. So I will be flying it again, and when I will be flying it again, then I'll do a really nice video of all phases of the flight. And so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Many more videos coming, so please like, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you again.
Flights.